Good morning, my dear students. As we all know about the present situation of COVID-19 arised in the whole world, we all have been locked down at our home. So I decided to start your first virtual English literature class of class 6. So here we go. Our first chapter is Wolves in the Family, written by Ruskin Bond. Before we proceed to the chapter, let's have some knowledge about the author who has written this story. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British descent born on 19 May 1934. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for the novel Our Trees Still Grow in Dhera. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1999 and the Padma Bhushan in 2014. Let us start the chapter. One morning, we found a full-fledged baby spotted owlet on the ground by the veranda steps. When grandfather picked it up, it hissed and clacked its bill. But after a meal of raw meat and water, settled down for the day under my bed. One morning, an author and his family found a full-fledged baby of owl on the ground near the veranda steps. When the author's grandfather picked it up, the owlet hissed and clacked. After some time, the owlet has been offered with a meal of raw meat and water, and after taking his meal, he settled down for the whole day under the author's bed. Let us go to second para. The spotted owlet, even when full grown, is only the size of a myna and has none of the sinister appearance of the larger owls. A pair of them may often be found in an old mango or turmeric tree, and by tapping on the tree trunk, you may be able to persuade the bird to show an inquiring face at the entrance to its hole. The bird is not normally afraid of man, nor is it strictly a night bird, but it prefers to stay at home during the day, as it is sometimes attacked by other birds, who consider all owls as their enemies. Now, when the owlet starts growing fully, it takes the size of a myna. Here, myna is one type of bird that can talk similar to human being. But the appearance of myna is not dangerous as compared to larger owls. The pair of myna can be found in an old mango or turmeric tree, and by tapping on the tree trunk, we may be able to convince the bird to show an questioning face at the entrance to its hole. However, the bird is not normally afraid of men, but it prefers to stay at home during the day because they might be in fear of attacking by other birds like wolves. Proceed to third para. Have a look. The little owlet was quite happy under my bed. The following day, a second owlet was found in almost the same place on the veranda, and only then did we realize that where the rainwater pipe emerged through the roof, there was a rough sort of nest from which the birds had fallen. We took the second young owl to join the first and fed them both. When I went to the bed, they were on the left just inside the mosquito netting, and later in the night their mother found them there. From outside, she crooned and gurgled for a long time, and in the morning I found them that she had left a mouse with its tail tucked through the mosquito net. Obviously, she placed no reliance on me as a foster parent. Now, the owlet, which was quite happy under the author's bed, next day the authors found almost the same owlet on the veranda. So he took the second young owl to join the first and fed both of them. When the author went to the bed, the two owlets were on the shelf just inside the net. After a few hours, the owlet's mother crooned and gurgled from outside for a long time. Next morning, the author found that the owlet's mother had left a mouse with its tail tucked through the mosquito net. Moving to fourth para, have a look. The young birds thrived, and 10 days later at dawn, grandfather and I took them into the garden to release them. I had placed one on a branch of the mango tree and was stooping to pick up the other, when I received quite a heavy blow on the back of my head, A second or two later, the mother owl swooped at grandfather, but he was agile enough to duck out of its way. Quickly, I placed the second owl under the mango tree. Then, from a safe distance, we watched the mother fly down and led her offspring into the long grass at the edge of the garden. So, what happened after 10 days? The author and his grandfather took them to the garden to release them and placed them on a branch of a mango tree. Suddenly, the author received a heavy blow on the back of his head. However, grandfather too was swooped by mother owl, but he was able to move quickly and easily out of its way. Then, from a safe distance, the author and his grandfather was watching how the mother owl led her child into the long grass at the edge of the garden. Let's move to the fifth para. We thought she would take her family away from a rather strange household, but next morning, on coming out of my room, I found two young wolves standing on the wall just outside the door. I ran to tell grandfather, and when we came back, we found the mother sitting on the bird bath 10 yards away. She was evidently feeling sorry for her behavior the previous day because she greeted us with a soft woo woo. So the author and his grandfather thought that she would take her family away from their rather strange household. But next morning, on coming out of their room, the author found two young wolves standing on the wall just outside the door. He ran to tell grandfather, and when they came back, they found the mother sitting on the bird path 10 yards away. She was evidently feeling sorry for her behavior the previous day because she greeted them with a soft woo woo. Now we will move forward to sixth para. Now there's an unselfish mother for you, said grandfather. It's obvious she liked to them to have a good home, and they are probably getting a bit too big for her to manage. So the two owlets became regular members of our household, and strangely enough were among the few pets that grandfather took a liking to. She objected to all snakes, most monkeys and some crows, but she took quite a fancy to the owls and frequently fed them on spaghetti. Now what is spaghetti? Spaghetti is another word for noodles. It comes from the Italian word spago, which means string. Now we'll back to our paragraph. So they seemed quite fond of spaghetti. In fact, the wolves became so attached to grandmother that they began to show affection towards anyone in petticoat, including Aunt Mabel, who was terrified of them. She would run shrieking from the room every time one of the birds sidled up to her in a friendly manner. Forgetful of the fact that grandfather and the author reared them, the wolves would sometimes swell their feathers and snap at anyone in trousers. To avoid displeasing them, grandfather wore a petticoat at feeding time, and he compromised by wearing an apron. Let us proceed to seventh para. In response to grandmother's voice, the owlets would make sounds as gentle and soothing as the purring of a cat. But when wild wolves were around, ours would rend the night and blood-curdling shrieks. Their nightly occupation was catching beetles, which the kitchen quarters were full of at the time. With their sharp eyes and powerful beaks, they were excellent pest destroyers.
The owls loved to sit and splash in a shallow dish, especially if cold water was poured over them from a jug at the same time. They would get thoroughly wet, jump out on the perch, shake themselves, and then return for a second splash and sometimes a third. During the day, they dozed in a large cages under the trees in the garden. They needed cages for protection against attacks from wild birds. At night, they had the freedom of the house, where they exercised their wings as much as they liked. Superstitious folk who fear the cry of the owl may be interested to know that, mice excepted, there were no unexpected deaths in the house during the owl's residence. Proceed to para number 9. Looking back on those oldish days, I carry in my mind a picture of grandmother with a contented look in her rocking chair. Once on entering her room, while she was having an afternoon nap, I saw that one of the owls had crawled up her pillow till its head was snuggled under her ear. Both grandmother and the little owl were snoring. Thank you.